On this Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we want to take you live to Washington, D.C., where Dr. King is getting honored on what would have been his 89th birthday. You're looking at a live look. Let's listen in.
Let me first thank God to have the opportunity on this would have been the 89th birthday of my father, Martin Luther King Jr. And I first start, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Harry Johnson, all of the other distinguished guests that are here. I stand first with my wife and daughter, and much comes to mind as we stand here. The first thing I want to do is to thank Mr. Harry Johnson at the foundation and Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, because if it had not been for this great organization that my father happened to have been a member of, this memorial would not be here. So we owe a great debt of gratitude to Mr. Harry Johnson and the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Very briefly, and in just a minute, I want my daughter just to have a word just to lead us in a chant. But we must evaluate where we are 50 years. 50 years ago, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And on April 4th, we will observe that assassination all over our nation and really throughout our world. The question becomes, what will we do as communities across America to fulfill and envision and make the dream become a reality? I'm not here to talk about what has not happened, because we know what has not happened. But what I'm here to do is to look to the future, to figure out how we as a nation can come together as the nation that we always have been, to not just provide leadership in our nation. Certainly we must address the triple evils of poverty, racism, militarism, and violence. My dad and mother dedicated their lives for that eradication. In this nation called the United States, it is unacceptable to have over 60 million people living in poverty with a almost $20 trillion economy. Something is wrong with that. Martin Luther King Jr., I believe, would be speaking out and saying poverty is not going to happen. We're going to do something about it. As you know, he was killed as he was mobilizing for the Poor People's Campaign in 1968. And he was talking about a living wage then, and we're still debating the minimum wage. Well, I could go on, but I'm not going to. I just want to, and first of all, it's cold. And you've been here for a while, some of you. And second of all, I hope that if you don't remember anything else, maybe you'll remember these words, and I share them in love. I was so thankful to visit my mom's undergraduate institution, Antioch College. At that college, there's a statue of the educator Horace Mann. Under that statue, the inscription says, "Be ashamed to die until you've won a victory for humanity." Let me say that one more time. Be ashamed to die until you've won a victory for humanity. Now, very quickly, you may say that's grandiose. No, we can win victories in our neighborhood. Some of us will win victories in our schools. Some will win victories in our places of worship. Some may win victories in our city. Some may win victories in our states. Some may win victories in our nation. What others may even win victories in our world. Those words basically mean be ashamed to die until you've done a little something to make the world in which we all must live a little better than it was when you arrived. Now I want to ask our daughter, Yolanda Renee. You know, you should always say our. And there's a women's movement that is very serious. And men, we're going to get our houses in order. We're not going to ever mistreat our women. Amen. So I want to have our daughter, Yolanda Renee, just want you to listen to her and follow her lead.
Will you please repeat these words after me? Spread the word!
Spread the word!
Have you heard?
Have you heard?
All across the nation.
All across the nation.
We are going to be
are going to be
a great generation.
A great generation.
I want you to say it a little bit louder. Spread the word.
Spread the word.
Have you heard?
Have you heard?
All across the nation.
All across the nation.
We are going to be a great generation.
A great generation.
I want you to say it like you really, really mean it. Spread the word.
Spread the word.
Have you heard?
Have you heard?
All across the nation.
All across the nation.
We are going to be a great generation.
A great generation.
Give yourself a hand.
We will now have a moment of silence before beginning our final prayer by Reverend Dr. E. L. Anderson.
God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on our way, thou who hast by thy might led us from enslavement to emancipation, from the back of the bus to the front of the bus, from slave ships named Amazing Grace to vacation cruises on the liberty of the seas, from broken promises to victorious encounters, and from unbelief to your awesome wonders in our lives. For this we say thank you. God, we have gathered together and stand on the faith of our ancestors from that super holy continent of Africa. Those who crossed the Atlantic in slave ships, not on cruise lines, who dropped off throughout the diaspora and ported to this new land of America. Thank you for the hope that infiltrated the marrows of their bones and permeate in our spirits today. Thank you for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the day that he was born. Thank you for time that has passed and the great shoulders of great activists that he stood on, like Sojourner Truth and Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and Toussaint L'Ouverture and Thurgood Marshall, and stood shoulder to shoulder with Malcolm X and Frankie Freeman and Reverend Louis Jacobs and John Hurst Adams and God Dr. Martin Luther King as he stands in the spirit of hope and in the spirit of faith. We thank you. We thank you for allowing him to be with us and to speak truth to power. We acknowledge that power today because, God, without you, we are nothing. And so we place all of our future in your hand and ask that you make this super holy place, this holy ground that we stand on now, a place where people will come with peace, for peace, and people will come for hope, and people will come with faith. Thank you for Dr. King and for Dr. Coretta Scott King and the lives they live and the mantles that they carry for all of us standing in this place today. And God, as we leave this place, we never leave your presence. Thank you for all that have gathered. And thank you for keeping us through this cold that we didn't freeze to death. We praise you and we thank you for my grandson who's able to be here today, Axel, to stand in awe of this great stone and this great mountain of hope today. We praise your name today. And we thank you for Harry, and thank you for the interior, for providing heat on next year. In Jesus' name we pray. All of us say amen.
Let us thank our MC from the Washington Post, Eugene Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. And let us thank all of our program participants. Please give them a round of applause.
All right, you've just been looking at a very moving ceremony there at the Martin Luther King Memorial in Washington, D.C. You heard there from Dr. King's son, Martin Luther King III. You also heard from his daughter, who led the crowd in a chant. And you see other officials that have surrounded the family, the King family there, including the FBI director and the Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke.